Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the greatest show on earth. Not the circus you grew up with, no elephants here, nope. This is the NIFB circus, where every ring is on fire, the clowns are in charge, and every act ends with a sermon, a diss track, or a lawsuit. Tonight's main attraction, the tragicomic saga of a church van, narcissism, and religious gaslighting. Let's start with Susanna Anderson, the unofficial first lady of drama, the kind of person who would give you a birthday gift and then tell the whole town you're ungrateful because you didn't weep tears of joy into a handwritten thank you letter while filming it for YouTube. So what happened? She writes a whole public essay complaining that Pastor Jimenez didn't properly grovel over a gift they gave him years ago. We gave them a van, a brand new 15-passenger, off-the-lot, shiny Ford Transit van. Yeah, and now you're writing a 1,000-word eulogy because the man didn't build a shrine to it. Lady, it was a gift, not a blood pact. You said no strings attached and then pulled out a 30-foot emotional rope and started wrapping it around his ministry like you were setting up for a hostage situation. It's like saying, I don't want anything in return, and then 5 years later showing up at their house like, hey, remember that sandwich I bought you in 2018? I'm gonna need you to cut off your friends, name your church after me, and disown your children to repay me. That's not generosity, that's mafia-level manipulation with a cross stitched on top. And don't even get me started on the rest of the NIFB chaos. These are the people who embezzled $25,000 from another church, locked them out of their own building, and acted like they were the victims. That's like stealing someone's car and then suing them for parking tickets. And speaking of cars, can we please let the van go? That van's been mentioned more times than Jesus in some of these Facebook posts. I'm starting to think it's not a van, it's a symbol of their eternal victim complex. You'd think the Ark of the Covenant had cup holders the way they talk about it, but the real plot twist. The Andersons, who built their entire identity around raising godly children, are now scrambling because their own adult sons are, wait for it, cross-dressing. And instead of self-reflection or, being human about it, Steven Anderson goes, this is clearly Jimenez's fault. Oh yeah, Jimenez, the pastor who didn't even have trans kids. Apparently not having trans kids is now a problem in this bizarro world. That's like getting mad at your neighbor because your dog won't stop barking. So to distract everyone, what do? They accuse Jimenez of breaking fellowship over atheists, which, surprise, wasn't even true. The real reason? Stephen doxed his own brother and called for someone to commit arson. Yes, arson, because nothing says turn the other cheek like setting buildings on fire. I feel like these people skipped straight past the New Testament and based their theology on a really bad season of reality TV. Then came the weirdest diss track I've ever seen. You thought church drama peaked at passive-aggressive prayer requests? No. These guys drop bars like, why are you talking about our trans kids and not Epstein? What kind of lyrical logic is that? That's like saying, don't ask why my kitchen's on fire. Focus on global warming. It's not a defense, it's a distraction grenade thrown into the room to confuse everyone long enough to relight the match. And don't worry, Susanna isn't just here for emotional blackmail and van-based theology. She's also orchestrating the destruction of other people's marriages behind the scenes while pretending it was an act of God. Imagine trying to break up a couple and then blaming Jesus like he's your scapegoat marriage counselor. Oh yeah, sorry, your life exploded. That was the Lord's will, definitely not the 43 texts I sent manipulating your spouse. These people use God's name more recklessly than a teenager with a fake ID at a gas station beer fridge. And after all that, after the embezzlement, after the child abuse cover-ups, after the doxing, after the revenge music videos, after the wild accusations that even your crazy aunt would side-eye, Susanna has the unfiltered gall to say, but we gave them a van, so we're the real victims. I'm sorry, what? Lady, this isn't generosity. This is emotional extortion wrapped in piety. That's like punching someone in the face and then saying, yeah, but remember that time I helped you move? So let's wrap this circus up with one big bow. The NIFB isn't a church. It's not even a cult at this point. It's a traveling spiritual soap opera with more plot twist than a telenovela and less accountability than a toddler with chocolate on their face saying, I didn't eat it. If the Bible were a mirror, half these people would spontaneously combust from the reflection. And Susanna, she's not the victim. She's not the savior. She's the clown wife of the NIFB circus, riding around in that 15-passenger Ford Transit like it's the holy chariot of eternal grudges. Thank you. You've been a fantastic audience. Remember, if someone says no strings attached and then shows up with a rope, run.
And if your pastor drops a diss track instead of a sermon, you're not in a church, you're in a cult with a Wi-Fi password. Good night and drive safe, especially if you're in a van.